3 weeks. We used to spend 3 weeks with the veterans on Rule 9. Okay, so it's very complicated. It's very nuanced. So that being said, we're gonna give you the basics, but then you really have to put some time in reading it. And the first read through Rule 9, you're not going to quite grasp it. The second read through, you're not going to quite grasp it. It's really going to take games and reading the rules during the season to kind of get a feel for it. Okay. Brian got so mad he left the Zoom call for a minute. Let me make him co-host again here. All right. Must have thrown something across the room. All right. So this is just to give you an example of the definitions that are covered in Rule 9. We preach a lot about definitions. Well, there's a lot of them, and I've highlighted some of those that we're going to touch base on tonight. But again, to understand Rule 9, you have to understand the definitions. And so I would recommend going back and forth. If you're reading a section of Rule 9 and they talk about blocking, go read what the definition for blocking is, so that way you understand how that works. Because we talked about legal and illegal all in the same little few sentences. Blocking by either team is permissible unless it's kick catching interference or pass interference, personal foul, or an illegal block. And this is one of those things just to remember, that when we think of blocking, we think of the offense blocking the defense, but the defense can block as the offense as well. Okay, so so the defense can be guilty of blocking fouls just like the offense can. So don't get so tunneled that you only think of blocking as the offense. This also applies to the defense, and it's fundamental is that it remind us that either team can block legally, unless it's one of those things. Okay, and we'll see some examples of what I'm talking about here in a minute. So blocking. Oops. So offensive player. So restrictions: failure to use a permissible blocking technique. Talk about that, what that means in a minute. Interlock blocking, we don't really see that very often. Use arms, hands, or legs to hold an opponent, and the runner may not grasp a teammate. So if the runner's following a teammate, you can't hold on. He can put his hand on his back, okay, to kind of push him out of the way. You get the big lineman in front of the running back. Sometimes they don't want to wait on him. They can't grab him. What is allowed is a runner may ward off or push any player. You're allowed to ward off a blocker during a kick, and you're allowed to push, pull, or ward off an opponent when the ball is loose if he may legally touch or possess the ball, unless it's pass interference, personal foul, or illegal use of hands. So that is what is allowed. So what does actually all that mean? So some keys to think about: does it impede the opponent? Is the action legal, and does it affect the play? And this is really key with holding. You will see a lot of fat kids holding each other at the line of scrimmage. All right. You're going to see it's hot. It's the fourth quarter. The ball is snapped. And you're going to see an offensive and defensive lineman just basically hug each other. All right. Okay. They're going to hug each other. And the defensive player is not going to be trying to run. He's not going to be trying to get away from him. He's not going to be trying to get to the runner. There's going to be like those sumo wrestlers you see on TV that are pushing each other. Could they be holding each other? Correct. But are they actually impeding each other? No, they're not. Are they affecting the play in any way? No, they're not. So as you get more experience, you'll see what we're talking about, and you'll kind of get a feel for, okay, so when is the hold actually a foul, and when is holding just two guys being lazy and just hugging each other? And it takes years to kind of decipher some of that, and some of the veterans still have not. So but that's what we want you, when we talk about holding and blocking, that these keys are what I want you to think about. Defensive players. Pretty similar. Restrictions, use a technique that's not permissible. You cannot use your hands to add momentum to the charge of a teammate who's on the line of scrimmage. So you can't come up and the linebacker can't come push the defensive lineman, basically. Uses hands or arms to hook, lock, or clamp, grasp, and circle, in an effort to restrain an opponent other than the runner, and contact an eligible receiver who's no longer a potential blocker. But what's allowed is use unlocked hands to ward off a blocker. And again, push, pull, or ward off an opponent when attempting to reach the runner or the loose ball. Play action pass. So if you have a player who's simulating possession, the defense is allowed reasonable time to discover the deception. Because remember, I was talking about blocking applies to both teams. So let's say I take the snap, I fake a handoff to John. He runs up in there as like he's simulating possession of the ball. And then Demery hits John and at the waist. What has Demery actually done to John? What is that? It's a block. And what type of block is it? A block below the waist, which is a foul. However, because John was simulating possession, that contact is legal. Okay. Now, it doesn't give Demery permission to clothesline John. Okay. It doesn't give Demery permission to let John run 10 yards downfield and then go hit him. But it does allow some reasonable time there for Demery to not realize that he's got, because Demery's assignment is if you see the running back come up the middle, you tackle him, right? That's the defensive tackle. That's probably going to be his assignment. So Demery's going to see, in the fog and the sweat that John's running up the middle. He's like, I want to hit him, and not really know where the ball is. So, but the same thing, the same keys apply to the defense. Impede the opponent. Is the action legal, and does it affect the play? So blocking. So I mentioned blocking technique for the offense and the defense. So what is that? So the frame is your chest, abdomen, side, not your back. So open and close hand techniques. We're not going to talk about close hand techniques because you never see that anymore. But open hands. So hands in advance of the elbow, inside the frame of the opponent's body, unless the opponent turns his back to the blocker after initiation or the blocker commits the block. So you'll see this downfield. You see a lineman get out in front. He's running downfield. And you see a little 5'3", 110-pound defensive back sees a lineman, coming at him. What is he going to do? He's going to turn and he's going to duck. Well, if that lineman has already committed to blocking him, he's already initiated the charge. Hands are going forward. He's eyeballing him. He's going to block him. And the last minute, that little defensive back turns, then and that lineman hits him in the back or wherever, that lineman is not guilty of a foul. Okay, so that's why we say you have to see the entire play. If you just catch the tail end of that, and all you see is the lineman pushing the little guy in the back onto the ground, then all you're going to see is that end result. Then you're going to make the wrong call. Because you're going to throw a flag for a block in the back, when in actuality, it was the little guy turning at the very last second for that. The other key thing is, so the frame is the chest, so the front, which we know, abdomen, which we know, and the side. So I'm talking about the force of the block. So if I am pushing on the side, okay, that's legal. I can have my other hand on the player's. I can have my other, so I'm pushing on the side. Okay. So I'm pushing Demery's side. If I have my other hand just kind of touching his back, but the force is coming from the side, is that legal? Yes, that's legal. So again, if you don't see the whole block, all you may see is a hand on the back, and you may think that's a block in the back, but the force is from the side. So you have to see the entire play. So if I push Demery and he goes sideways, that's what it tells you where I'm pushing from, right? If I push Demery and he falls forward on his face, which way has the force been? The back, okay? So see the entire play, see the entire block. couple videos, and I got these off the Federation website a couple years ago, and I can't ever find them again. But just to kind of illustrate the point of what we've been talking about here. So legal blocking. All right, so open hands and advance of the elbows inside the frame. And for those of you all doing 1A football, this is about the size of the athletes you'll be seeing. Okay. All right. Legal blocking. So that's a nice, easy, but that's what we mean about technique wise. Hands are in the advance of the elbow inside the frame of the blocker's body. Okay. All right. So what you're going to see is, okay, so they'll start like that, but as soon as he gets those hands there, they're going to grab. Okay. But if the defender allows himself to be blocked, and this is what this kid's doing. He's allowing himself to be blocked. He's just kind of going with him, right? Going with him. Is he actually really impeding him in any way? Like, so if this guy doesn't try to get away from that, don't call it. Don't call it.
They're gonna be in your ear.
Yeah.
They're gonna be hold, but
so
they gotta make an effort to get away.
Yes. All right. So here's an example. So we got a pass play, open field blocking. So this is probably the hardest thing. It's one thing for the line, you can kind of, but when you get in the open field like this, everybody can see it, and it's happening really fast. They're running full speed. You're running full speed. Most of you are running full speed well behind them while they're running full speed. And so it's hard to see these. So he's cutting across the field. You got guys all over the place. All right. So it's his hands inside the frame. Now he's up on that shoulder pad, right? So at what point does that become a foul? So he's trying to get away from him, right? And he's trying to get to him, and you see him being pulled back. All right. So that's when it becomes a foul. And it's the back judge gets it and throws a flag. Now, if he had just kind of kept running off diagonally and just allowing him to get pushed and wasn't trying to reach out, wasn't trying to escape, probably wouldn't call that. But when the defender makes a clear effort to try to get away to get to the runner, and he's being held or being restricted from doing that, that's when we need to make the call. So this is going to illustrate that it goes both ways. All right, so what do we see right here? So who's grabbing who? The defense has got a handful of jersey right there, right? So he's grabbed that offensive lineman. Well, look at what that lineman wants to do. So it's going to right in this area right here. So look at the center of the snapper. He's supposed to get, what is his assignment? What's the snapper's assignment? Get that guy right there, right? Does the defender impede him from doing that? Does he restrict him from doing it? Yes. Yes. So now he got a free pass. So
Demery throws flag.
Would throw his flag. Yes. 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 We'll throw his flag right there for defensive holding. All right. And so as umpires, that's a lot to watch. You're watching the offense and you got to watch the defense on some of that stuff, because these kids are taught to do that. These offensive linemen are taught to do that. And defensive linemen especially are taught to kind of grab so they can't go to the next level, pick up blitzers. There are a ton more videos on the website, and you just have to it's all about repetition and watching them and going, and don't pay attention to the video titles. But watch them and go, all right, what would I call on this? What would I do on that? And that will help you and then that, along with the reps, the games, you'll kind of get a feel for it. Free blocking zone. So we talk a lot about the free blocking zone. Well, what is it? Essentially, it's 4 yards from either side of the football. and then 3 yards behind the football. So you have an offensive line of scrimmage. We got a defensive line of scrimmage. Neutral zone is the length of the football. 3 yards in either direction back, 4 yards on either side. Rule of thumb is the center to the tackle. Okay, so that's your 4 yards. So regular splits, 4 yards, 4 yards, and then 3 yards would be actually probably right in front of the quarterback in this situation. However, if you get a team with wide splits, so right here, so like this is normal. Look how far this guy's out. See within 4 yards? No. So as an umpire, you've got, when you pre-snap, you take a look, you go, wait, he's way out there. So if he blocks below the waist, Dave, what has he done? He's blocked below, as he's illegally blocked below the waist. Okay. So that's just awareness, not something that maybe as a first year guy, we really want to get super focused on, but just be aware that some of these teams go really, really wide. And some of these teams go really, really tight. But the rule of thumb is about the center to the tackle will be the free blocking zone.
Even if they're real tight.
No, I wouldn't. You can make a case like if Dr. Jerry Brown's coaching them. So some of those guys get super tight, but no, yeah. So why do we talk about the free blocking zone? What does it mean? Well, it allows certain blocks that otherwise would be illegal. So a block below the waist is allowed in the free blocking zone if the block is in the zone, all players involved are on the line of scrimmage and in the zone at the snap. So again, that's where that knowing that 4 yards on either side, and the initial movement at the snap. So what that means is if I'm going to block Dave below the waist, the ball is snapped, I've got to go straight below the waist. I can't stand up. I can't take a step back. I've got to dive straight below for his waist. And I've got to be on the line of scrimmage, and I've got to be in the zone when the ball is snapped. Block in the back. The ball has to be in the zone. So remember, it's a 6x8 rectangle essentially. The block has to be in the zone. The offensive blocker has to be on the line of scrimmage and in the zone of the snap. The defense or the blocked opponent, the defensive player, only has to be in the zone of the snap. So remember that 3 yards behind the ball, he's got to be within those 3 yards for a block in the back to occur. And then clipping is never allowed. So blocking below the waist. So initial contact is below the waist from the front or the side. Okay, because remember the side is all considered the front in this situation. Initial contact with the opponent's hands below the waist and continuation of contact below the opponent's waist. So if I see Demery's coming, he's going to block me below the waist. And I put my hands down, try to push him off. He hits my hands below my waist and then continues on into my thighs. That's still a block below the waist. It only applies with one or both feet on the ground, opponent with one or both feet on the ground. So if I jump, he can get me anywhere he wants. And it excludes the runner. So here's an example. All right, so we got below the waist, right? He drives in right below the waist. So and for this to be legal, when the ball snap, that has to occur. That has to be the initial action at the snap, which is what that player just did. And who can block below the waist legally? Offense, right? And defense. So offensive and defensive linemen can do this at the snap. All right, so here we got the center snapper. So he snaps the ball. Now the snapper's a little different, okay, because he's got to snap it, right? So is he going to be as instantaneous as the guard when it comes to blocking below the waist? No. So watch him. We'll watch it. Let's go back and watch him again. So he snaps it. And then once he snaps it, what is this initial thing? He goes down, right? He snaps it and then he goes down. So give him that. That's legal. All right, don't call that. All right. These kids aren't good enough to be snapping it and going down at the same time. And as a referee, I don't want them to try that. Okay. I want the good snap. So the ball goes away from me. I don't want the ball going behind. I want it to go away from me. And that only happens with a good snap, as John can tell you. Bad snaps are just bad for us. All right. Now, the other thing to talk about is this umpire here. All right. Your penalty flags. We don't want them hanging out of a side pocket. We don't want them flapping in the wind so everybody can see that you have a penalty flag. We also don't want it so deep in your pocket that you're, okay. All right. Where's the ball at? Ball's here, right? Where does his eyes need to be? On the ball. He's still digging for his flag. We've got blocking over here. We've got guys running downfield. He needs to be. So who's responsibility for the ball? The wing guy, right? The wing guy, right? So he's responsible for all of this action here, right? Because you got the referee is going to be coming on the side. So referee's got this side. And he's got all this. Well, he is looking way over here. He not good. Yeah. And he's still all right. So now the runner is way over here. Almost every player on the field has passed him on this side of the field. Is he helping this crew at all? No. So finally he gets turned to be able to start officiating. But he's way downfield. And he's still digging, he's still pushing his pocket back in because he couldn't find the flag because he had to pull his pocket out. So, yes, tuck your flags in, but don't make it so you can't get them. And so when we get you out there in your uniforms, we'll make sure that everything's kosher from that standpoint. But that really illustrates the fact he was once he saw the quote illegal block that wasn't illegal, he was essentially useless for the rest of this play. Yeah.
But we'll show you how to actually chuck the
Yeah.
flag in. If you keep the flag here, they don't know what you're doing. But if you reach in your back pocket and don't throw it, then coach will say, "Why did you throw the flag?"
Right.
Because you reached for it.
Yeah. Nice. Wing guys. All right. We picked on the umpire. Let's watch this wing guy. You're not going to see him until the very end. All right, we're getting down towards the goal line, right? It's kind of important down here at the goal line. All right, he's diving for the pylon, and he is here. And the referee is almost past it. All right. So, yes, we want to trail the runner. You don't want to get in front of the runner downfield. That's a safety issue, right? If you get run over, you're of no use to anybody. So, but you know the goal line. So we're snapping this 5, 10, 15. So the back judge has got the goal line. Okay. But you need to be, he's here, you probably need to be around the 12 or the 13. No further than 5 yards behind him. Okay. Trailing him because you're going to have to, when he dives for this pylon, so you've got a back judge here who's looking down the line, and you've got the sideline. There has to be communication between the back judge and that wing official. Was that a touchdown? Was he out of bounds beforehand? Did the ball, if he's in the air, did the ball cross the sideline? And then was it outside goal line extended, or did the ball get inside the pylon? That's a conversation that has to happen between the back judge and the wing guy. And do you think that conversation can happen with you back here? No. So when he dives for that pylon, you need to be between that 5 and 10 yard line. You need to be there. And then as a back judge, you're not going to hurry that call because you're going to be looking at this wing guy, and you're gonna be looking at him, and this might be one where y'all need to run together real quick and say, hey, this is what I saw. What did you see? And then piece it together that way.
So you're saying the back judge wouldn't give a call until after the meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay.
If the back judge doesn't know, did he step out of bounds before he dove? Did the back judge may clearly see the ball inside the pylon across the goal line, but he doesn't know what happened to his feet before he got to that point. He needs to take that second. Yeah.
It's something that they talk about in pregame. I'm not gonna make the call, I'm gonna look at you, see what I got. And if you tell me, I'll pick it up.
All right. So, okay. So here's what we talked. So here's a center, the snapper. Snapper. All right. So maybe a little wide, but we're going to consider him in the free blocking zone. Right? He's not so wide that it caused undue attention there. All right. So these guys look okay. Ball snap. All right. Now, what is this? Was that initial at the snap? No. And this is a block below the waist, right? All right. So who's gonna see this? Wing. Probably the wing because it's at the snap. So umpire. So Dave, ball snapped. What do your eyes do? So you go in, out, right? In, out. Wing guys, you're reading this tackle. All right. If he drops back, if he steps back, you're gonna read pass. If he goes forward, you're gonna read run. Well, if you're reading him, you should see this, right? I mean, you should. I mean, and this is a safety issue. We got to get these. No, this is a safety foul. So don't expect the umpire and referee to see that. Expect the wing guy to see that. And that's the foul. And so why did he have to do this? So watch what the defender does. He gets way out here. There's no way. So this guy's been told, well, you know, when the ball's snapped, block, chop him, cut him, well, that's what he knows. Right? He's 16, 17. That's all he knows. Ball snap, cut him, The coaches on the defense go, hey, he's going to do that. So you get way out here so he can't do that. Yeah. So you can't do that. And so that's what happened here. He goes, my assignment is to cut this guy, and I'm going to cut him no matter what. And the defender goes, you're not going to be able to do it legally. And that's what happened. So wing guys have got to be able to see this. All right. And to add to it, all right. Well, there we are there. So now we got a blindside block as well. Just get one of them, okay? Just to get one of them. All right. Let's get same spot. Just get one of them. Well, yeah, he throws his hands up, starts jumping around. That's a foul. Okay. You can't call it based on the reaction, but that's a foul. And then the other thing about this play, so you the wing guy, you throw your flag, right? You see it, but then you've got to keep coming. See, he's good. All right. He may be a little close, maybe a couple of yards back. You kind of get a feel for where you're comfortable level at, but he didn't. You would see it, throw your flag, and then you would keep officiating. Yeah. Block in the back. So initial contact is in the opponent's back. So again, the initial contact, the force is in the back. Inside the shoulders, below the helmet, and above the waist. Excluding a runner or pretend runner. And this is what I'm saying. You must see the entire block. You've got to see what that force, the direction, the initial contact for that force. And you got to know, did that defender turn his back to the blocker once the blocker initiated his charge? All right, there you go. That's great acting there. So clearly, Forrest is in the back. And then he right there in the back, open hands above the waist, below the helmet, knocks him down forward. So this does a pretty good job of kind of, so you see the entire block focusing on the initial contact. The position of the blocker's head or feet do not necessarily indicate the point of initial contact. How many times have we heard that if you got his head in front is legal? No, it's where the contact is. So right here's, that's from the side. That's good. The force from the side. So only if it's from the back, that is a foul. And this is demonstrating a punt return, which is, when do we see a lot of block in the backs? Punt returns, interception, change of possessions, change of the flow. So all the players are going in one direction, the ball's coming in a different direction. That's when you see block in the back. That's when you see blindside blocks. So when you have those plays, you've got to, your antennas have got to go up to make sure you see the whole play. There we go. Got a punt. All right. So if it was if we could freeze frame and highlight, but where's the, so was that a very violent block? No, but did that affect that player's ability to get to the runner? Sure did. Doesn't take much, especially when these guys are running full speed. It does not take much at all to again impede. Remember the keys: impede, obstruct. Doesn't take much to do it. Clipping. So clipping is a block against an opponent while initial contact is behind, at or below the waist. So a block in the back is above the waist. Clipping is at or below the waist. Again, we're excluding the runner, and clipping is never allowed. It's never allowed. And these happen fast. All right, so did y'all see it? All right, so watch right in this action right here. Ball snapped. So he tries to get across and he got beat. So the offensive lineman tries to get his guy. He's trying to block this guy right here, and he got beat. And so what does he do? He blocks him in the back below the waist. He's trying to block him legally below the waist, but he got beat. And so he clips him. And again, so, and the umpire got it. You see how fast that happened? Right at the snap. Right at the snap. So you just really have to be aware of that. So but yeah, so he falls right. So you can see why it's a safety issue. I mean, he's falling right on his back. I mean, right on his knees from that. Shot block. So combination block by two or more teammates with or without delay. Again, we're excluding the runner or a pretend runner. Shot block only occurs in the free blocking zone. If you're outside the free blocking zone, then you have a block below the waist. Okay. So what is the definition of a low block? In this case, it's below the waist. And a high block is at or below the waist. At or above the waist. So if blocker 1 is high and blocker 2 is low, you have a chop block. If they're both low in the free blocking zone, so if both blocks below the waist meet the requirements for a legal block below the waist, and that would be on the line of scrimmage, in the free blocking zone, the players in the free blocking zone, and action simultaneously with the snap, then that's legal. Okay. If both blocks are high, that's perfectly fine. All right. It's only when one is high and one is low. And again, these aren't always the most violent things in the world that you see. All right, so what do we got here? You got one guy above the waist, and we got one guy below the waist. So that's a chop block. Okay. Again, not the most, and then he kind of grabs his foot. And then we have the Honorable Mr. Price following the play. So not, so again, but this is a safety issue. Yeah, man. Uh-huh. If it's above the waist, no. Yeah. All right. This is what you'll see a lot of. I mean, right there in the middle. So what happens is one of them messed up their assignments. See, we got a couple things here. All right, so he tries to block this guy below the waist out here, but does he actually block him? No. Okay, so don't call an attempt. Make sure you see the whole block. Okay, but then what is all this? I mean, you got guys laying all over the ground. I mean, that's terrible. It's just terrible. But all right, so watch this action right in here. All right, so we got one above the waist and one below the waist, right? So that is a chop block. Okay. And so umpire right there. You see that. Okay. And then the lineman didn't block anybody else. And so 3 guys tackle the quarterback. All right. All right. So that's blocking. Okay. So now let's talk about personal fouls. So defensive player. This is a player vulnerable by definition, a player that's vulnerable to injury because of physical position or focus. They can be contacted, but the onus, the responsibility falls to the player initiating the contact to make it legal. So when in question, the player is defenseless. So then is determined upon the person who's doing the contacting to do so in a legal manner. So the rule book lists a bunch of examples: passer, receivers, kickoff, punt returners. Just read through the examples in the rule books there. But if you think about it, these are all players who, by physical positioning or concentration, are vulnerable to injury. For example, a punt returner. What is he focused on? The ball, right? The kick that's coming out. He is looking up. Is he looking around? Should he be looking? Anybody running around him? No. Okay. So he's vulnerable by injury. The passer, as I'm releasing the ball, I am like, can I protect myself? I'm wide open, right? I can still be contacted, but it needs to be in a legal manner. So, a legal blindside block. So this is against an opponent who does not see the blocker approaching. How many of y'all played football? How many of y'all remember coaches yelling at y'all to keep your head on swivel? That is your responsibility to know if you're about to get blown up. All that's gone. Throw all of that out. Okay. And a blindside block is simply a block against an opponent who does not see the blocker approaching. Does not say anything about that the person being blocked should know somebody's coming. And that's all that is gone. Okay. All of that is gone. All right. Just a blindside block is against an opponent who does not see the blocker approaching. Doesn't matter if the kid's dumb and can't see it coming. Okay. We can't take stupidity into account here. Outside the free blocking zone, forceful contact not initiated with open hands. What do you mean? Well, we're going to talk about what makes it legal. Yeah. So forceful contact not initiated with open hands. So what does that mean? If I use open hands from the blind side, is that legal? That's legal. All right. So if you use your hands, you can get them from the blind side all day long. If you use your shoulder, if you drive into them like this, am I using my hands? No, that's illegal. Okay, that's illegal. These can get very tricky. These are another one. You've got to see the entire play. If you just see part of it, you're gonna get it wrong. Okay, remember how I said, so when do we see these? Change of possession, right? See a lot of change of possession. So we got an interception. So we need to be on high alert. So we got a change of possession. The back judge is now going to be trailing. Wing guys, wide view, be watching for this stuff. What do we got right there? Watch right here. Is that from the blind side? Yeah, is that what initiated open hands? Well, okay. So we saw one angle. How about that angle? Now what do y'all think? Hands are in front, right? Yeah, it's close. It's close, yeah. So that's why there's gonna be two angles on this. All right. There will be two angles. So that's one to have a conversation on. All right. Make sure that everybody agrees with that. Okay. If I think you're right. I think the helmet got first. I think it leads with this helmet. Kind of hands are kind of behind. But that's one that definitely needs the conversation on. There's another one. Watch down here. Okay, so I definitely from the blind side. Legal because the pass was caught behind at the line of scrimmage or behind. All right. So we know it's not offensive pass interference. So the question is, was this an illegal blindside block? Well, watch that. What's in front? What's he using? Hands. So he lays him out, but we use his hands first. So if you just saw the end result of that, you might make the wrong call. And so there's two angles of this, right? So wing guy's going to see. What's the wing guy going to see? Yeah, wing guy's going to see. Wing guy's going to see that. So he's going to see that's a block from the blind side, and he's not going to know if you use his hands or not. So, but he's going to say that's a blind side block. I'm going to throw my flag. A back judge hopefully is scanning as well and is going to say nope. He uses hands to initiate the contact. So as long as they use those open hands to initiate, they're good to go.
The white guy's gonna throw it right there.
And the back judge is going to
Pick it up.
pick it up. He's going to tell him pick it up. Yep. So they're going to have a conversation and then tell him pick it up. Targeting. So this is a player initiates contact against an opponent above the shoulders with a helmet, forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulders. Okay, so basically you get above the shoulders, you contact them with any body part, that's going to be targeting. So was that receiver defenseless? Yes. Even though he muffed the kick, he's still considered defenseless. Okay. So again, he can be contacted, but he has to be done so in a legal manner. In a legal manner. Bam. Yeah. That's so we saw a defensive now, but this also can apply to the offense. All right. So who initiated the illegal helmet contact there? Runner. Yeah, the runner did. Yeah, it's illegal helmet contact. Okay. Horse. Yep. It's illegal helmet contact. It's targeting if they're defenseless. Okay. It's illegal helmet contact if it's just, I don't want to say illegal helmet contact, but it's not against a defenseless player. But that's not what he did. He drove his helmet. He took his helmet and rammed it right into the defender. Yeah. So he used his helmet to do that. Yeah. So that's illegal helmet. Probably spearing, honestly. It's probably the crown of his helmet. Yeah. But the point is not to get, don't think it only applies to the defensive players. The offense can be guilty of that as well. Horse collar fouls. So you grab the inside, back, or side collar of the shoulder or nameplate area of the pad or the jersey. And so you get up in here. You don't have to be inside the jersey. You just have to be in the nameplate area. Okay. And you have to pull the runner down to the ground backwards or sidewards. Okay. So if the runner falls forward, even half a millimeter, half an inch, if he falls forward, it's not a foul for horse collar. He's got to come backwards or sideways. And this is always a live ball foul. And it's still a foul if the runner loses possession. Yes. Running around, running around, running around. So let's see that. So we gotta see the back side of this, right? Because we gotta see where that hand is. So grabs him, pulls him down. So that one is borderline because he falls forward. Yeah. They called that a horse collar. But don't pay attention to what they call. These are videos for a reason that are sent out. All right. So he grabbed him, but he fell forward ever so slightly. That doesn't make it a horse collar foul. Everybody thinks it's a horse collar foul. He grabs and he pulls him straight back, and their knees buckle. I mean, it's a classic. You pull them straight back, then it's a foul. Okay. Hurdling. All right. So this is becoming more common because of what they see on the weekends. All right. So in high school football, it's a foul when a player attempts to jump with one or both feet over an opponent who's only contacting the ground with their feet. Okay. This is a safety issue for the hurdler and for the player being hurdled. Okay. So, and this is what we're looking for. This is the type of foul we're looking for here. You see this. All right. You see that. If you see that, that's a foul. All right. That's a foul for hurdling on the offense, on the runner. Okay. So that player there, so he's no other body parts touching the ground, just his feet. And he tries to hurdle over him, jump over him. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. You see that? That's a foul. Tripping. So this is intentionally using your lower leg foot to obstruct an opponent, including the runner, below the knee. So the key word is intentionally doing this. So is it a natural motion, essentially, by the player attempting to tackle? All right, so we got an interception, a run back, and then he comes across. So did that look like a natural motion there by that player? No, we're seeing another angle of it. And he intentionally does it. Contacts the runner below the knee and trips him. Occasionally, you'll see defensive linemen trying to do that. The quarterback's going to scramble out of the pocket. Sometimes they'll try to throw a leg out there. But yeah, so that is not natural looking. Yeah, throw that leg out there, tripping. That's tripping. Gotta get that. All right, so illegal participation and substitution. Briefly, there's a more in-depth video on the website that you can watch about this. This is all about definitions. All right, so participation is any action by a player or non-player that influences the play. Player is one of the 22 team members designated to start the game. A replaced player is a player who's notified by a substitute to leave the field. A non-player is coaches, athletic trainers, other attendants, bus drivers, scorekeepers, substitutes, replace players. Substitute as a replaces a player or fills a player vacancy and becomes a player when they enter the field and communicate with a teammate, communicate with a game official, enter the huddle, in formation, or otherwise participates. Okay, so if you really had to know what a player is, know what a substitute is, and then that will kind of help you guide this process. So illegal participation. If A or K steps out of bounds prior to attaining possession, that's illegal participation. Now it becomes a foul, not when they step out of bounds, but when they come back in. So if you step out of bounds and you just stand out of bounds, there's no foul there. It's only a foul if you step out of bounds and then you come back in bounds. That's when the foul occurs. Any player intentionally step out of bounds during a down. A non-player influences the play. A player or non-player enters during the down and participates. Helmet comes off a player and they continue to participate. So that's the one you're going to see more than anything else. It's a helmet coming off, and then he continues to go block or run downfield or participate somehow in the play. We know when the helmet comes off a runner, what happens? He's dead, right? So this is another player. It doesn't matter why the helmet came off. If John's blocking me and I grab his face mask and I rip his helmet off, and then John runs downfield and blocks somebody else, he's still guilty of a foul. Now, yes, his helmet got ripped off, so I'm guilty of a foul, but John's still guilty of a foul if he goes and participates. Illegal participation continued. So these are now live ball, previous spot fouls. An injured player is not replaced for one down, excluding halftime and overtime. And the way we avoid this is we communicate when we take an injury timeout for a player. We tell ourselves, "Hey, number 55 has to sit out one down." Okay, and then wing guys tell the coaches if you need to. He's got to sit out one down. 12 or more players participate during a down. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Deception. So you have a substitution or a pretend substitution. So player, replace player, substitute, coach, trainer, immediately prior to or at a snap or a free kick. So this is to try to prevent the old hideout play where they say you send your field goal unit on, but you only send 10 on, and the 11 start to run off, and then one of them stops right by the sideline and doesn't go off. The ball snapped and the defense doesn't know it. That's what that's trying to prevent. Okay. Illegal substitution. So we talked about participation. Now we got substitution. So what's the difference between a substitution foul and a participation foul? What's the yardage difference? Yeah, so the substitution is 5 yards, and the participation is 15 yards. So we can get a illegal substitution foul. Let's get that. 5 yards. Coaches are much more tolerable of 5 yards than 15 yards. Some of the offenses that you will see, if you give them a 15-yard penalty, they have no chance of getting a first down. Okay. So a replaced player fails to leave the field within 3 seconds. Can you break the huddle with more than 12 players in high school? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The only requirement is that replaced player fails to leave the field within 3 seconds, which means when he starts to leave the field. So I've got 12. So I got a guy that comes in, right? Charles is coming in. He's going to tell me the play. Tells me the play. And then I break the huddle. And then Charles is coming in for Daryl. So then Daryl starts to run off the field as we break the huddle. That's not a foul. It's not a foul. As long as he's leaving, starts to leave within 3 seconds of becoming a replaced player. And when does he become a replaced player? When Charles becomes a player. And when does Charles become a player? When he enters and does something, communicates, enters a huddle, something like that. So that's when the time starts. It's when Charles becomes a player. Say, hey, Daryl, you're out. And then Daryl starts to leave the field. So the 12, you will hear coaches scream all day. They broke it with 12. It doesn't matter. They can break it with 20. I don't care. As long as those 9 players are leaving the field within 3 seconds. No, they don't have to be off. They have to begin leaving the field. Before the snap. Yes. Replace player substitute fails to leave the field on the sideline where the team box is located. So you can't be, if the defense has got 12 and John's on the other opposite his sideline and he steps into the other team's team box to get off the field, that's a foul. Okay. Or at the end zone. Yep. A replaced player substitute leaves the field on the proper sideline, but they don't go directly to the team box. So you'll see this around the end zone. Kid will come off and just kind of like stand there. He's got to keep going towards the team box. All right.
You're not going to probably see that.
Yeah.
But your focus is you. If you see that, most likely you're not going to.
Mm-hmm.
You got like this is the field, and you see that come off, turn around to see him. Get going.
Yeah, no.
Meanwhile, ball's been snapped. There's no telling what happened. You're turned around.
And if you hear a kid cheering behind you, just during the next dead ball period, hey coach, make sure your kids get to the team box area. Sometimes they'll do that. A substitute becomes a player and withdraws during the same dead ball period. It's not something that we focus on. Okay. In theory, Charles can come in, communicate with Daryl. Daryl's like, no, dude, you're wrong. I'm still on the play. And then Charles starts to run back off. That's a foul, but we're not calling that. We're not going to be preoccupied with that because the kids don't know who's supposed to be on the field half the time, and the coaches don't know who's supposed to be on the field half the time. Yeah, depending upon what the play call is and everything. So don't get locked in on that. Illegal substitution, live ball fouls. So the other big difference between participation and substitution is we talked about the yardage difference, but all illegal participation fouls are live ball fouls. Illegal substitution fouls can be either dead ball or live ball fouls. We just talked about the dead ball fouls. Live ball fouls are previous spot. So during a down, a replaced player substitute unsuccessfully leaves the field and does not participate. So that's the one that Charles was talking about. Daryl's running. He's running as fast as he can to get off the field, but they snap it before he does. That's a foul. It's a live ball foul, 5 yards. Now, for the wing guys, When do we consider them to be off the field? When they're behind you. So most of us should be within a yard or two of the sideline. But as soon as he gets behind you, he's off the field. Okay. You're not going to turn around to see if he got there or not. All right. So Daryl's on the other side of the field. He's got to run all the way across the field to get to his team box area. And they're about to snap the ball, and there's no way he's going to get there. We're going to call that a dead ball foul. We're going to say he did not leave within 3 seconds. The reason why is because these are a lot cleaner if we can make them a dead ball foul versus a live ball foul. Just if he's not going to get there, blow it dead and just kill it. Okay. Who's counting defense? And line judge. Line judge. So there should be 2 flags. Who's counting offense? Referee. There should be 2 flags. Okay. The sitting spot. During a down, a replaced player substitute enters during the down and does not participate. This is a non-player foul. So a long run down the sideline. Some players come off onto the field of play, celebrating. We're going to get that initially as a sideline warning, but that can also be considered a legal substitution foul. Substitution participation, they can be very complicated. Okay. For whatever reason, it's in 2 different sections of the rule book when they're actually kind of linked, but you'll get more experience to it. But for y'all, the biggest thing is to know 5 versus 15, all participation fouls are live ball fouls. And that if we can get a dead ball illegal substitution foul, let's do it. So if you count 12 and they snap it, and you count to 12, I'm gonna count again. I always count twice. And I count 12, and as I count 12, they snap it. I'm gonna blow my whistle. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna throw my flag, and we're gonna get that as a 5-yard foul. Okay. If we know Daryl's not gonna get off the field in time before they snap it, we're gonna kill it, and we're gonna make that a 5-yard foul if we can. Okay. Couple of mechanics things, and we'll be done. Seeing a foul and continuing to officiate. So this is probably the hardest thing for new officials, and this takes time and reps. Because you're like, all right, you got the rules, they're kind of up in here, they're kind of going, and then you see something, and you're like, that's not right. May not exactly know what it was, but I know that's not right. So I'm gonna throw my flag, and I'm gonna let my referee figure out what exactly it was. Okay, smile about it now, but that's what's going to happen to you. It happened to all of us. Okay, it happened to all of us. All right, throw my flag, and I'd be like, I would just describe what happened. Like during, I was like, well, he was running, and then he pushed him, and then the guy fell down, and he got him in the back, and the referee's like, you mean you got a block in the back? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, all right. You laugh, but that's what is going to happen to you out there. Okay, I'm just letting you know that's what's going to happen. And
It's fine.
yes,
Don't let
we
that bother.
yes.
Don't let just don't think, oh, I know I saw something. I'm not sure what it was. So if you're not sure what it was, but you know something is wrong, don't say, well, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Throw it.
Yeah.
Talk to-
Yes.
the referee-
Let us talk to us.
the referees hopefully will be able to help. And trust me, a good referee is not going to look at you and say, "So bad." How do you not know that was watching that? I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
How is he trying to?
Some of y'all in your adventures as a new official will not have good referees, and you just something you have to work through. Okay, but if you can only describe it. Okay, that's the only thing I ask. It's like, come tell me what you got. All right, it may be 2 words, it may be 2 paragraphs, but come and tell me what you got and we will figure it out. And it may be, yeah, we ain't doing that tonight and we just pick it up. Okay. Don't get super offended by that. Just know that can also happen as well. Okay. Score, weather, there are other things that certain referees will take into account before they will enforce certain fouls. But if you see something and you know it's a foul and you're confident and you're like, I know it wasn't right, throw your flag. Okay.
If you're, if you have any doubt whether what you think is what you have is potentially unsportsmanlike conduct, make sure you got that guy.
Yes.
Make sure that, so then if you go up there and tell the referee, hey, you know, so-and-so did this, turns out that he made contact, which is personal. I mean, it's important. Call it that, but if you think it's any manner, it could be unsportsmanlike.
I mean, so I was like in my my first year I was on the wing, my second year I was a referee. Okay. And I was at a jamboree at Swansea and I had like drinking and I like, so it was 4 really veteran guys and me as the referee. And we had an interception followed by a foul on one of the teams, followed by a fumble. And so we all ran together and they start like telling me what they got. And I was like, I don't, what, huh? I was like, just tell me the signals and which way to point. Okay. No clue what we enforced. No idea if it was right or not. But that's the point, is that we're new. We know that we've all got stories on this type of stuff. You will tell us your stories. We will laugh at you. We will make fun of you, but just know we all had the same stories. So one of the hardest things to do as an official is to see a foul, throw your flag, and then continue to officiate. Like that umpire that we saw, right? He did not continue to officiate. The play is still going on. There is a fundamental. No live ball foul causes the ball to become dead. Well, that means you still have to keep officiating. There's only 5 of us. There's only 10 pair of eyes. Okay. So if you zone out, now we're down to 8 pairs of eyes. 8 eyes total. Okay. Yeah. Here. So let's see what we got going on here. Yeah. All right. So what was this right here? Blocking the back, right? And then you've got the play being down. So the official doesn't really put his hand out. He doesn't do anything. He's just kind of walking in, right? What do we do when the runner's down? What's our mechanic? What's our signal? You put your hand up, right? So you saw a foul, but what is the number one priority? Where's the down end at, right? Where's the runner down at? Where's the down? Where is the down end? You know, whistle, put your foot down, put your hand up, and then once you do that, and that signals to us, the crew, your crew members, that the play is over with, that you have him down. Then you stop the clock. Then you come and tell me what the foul was, because I can't enforce that foul unless we know where the run ended at. So if you don't know if I ask you, well, where did the down end? And people will say that I don't know. Like, well, that's a problem. I mean, we can pick a spot, but let's try not to do that. So yes, you see a foul, but you got to finish it. So I guess in priority would be, the number one thing is to know where did the down end, and then come and tell me the foul. Okay, but he's still responsible. He had the foul, but he's still responsible for all that action around that runner there. There's another one. All right, so he did a good job. So there's a face mask in there. You can't really tell on but he sees a foul, all right? And then the runner goes out of bounds. So he throws his flag, but so his flag is here, but where are his eyes? There, right there. He's watching the runner, he's watching the action. And then he got him out of bounds, and now he's coming to mark the spot, put his foot down, stop the clock. So his flag is still over here, but he's not paying any attention to his flag. So think about that first umpire that we saw. He was preoccupied with the flag and not what happened. This guy here does a really good job seeing the foul, throwing your flag, and then coming in and continuing to officiate. All right, so we got a flag. So what? All right, so let's go back to the pre-snap on this thing. All right. All right, so who's got the goal line here? Who's responsible? We're snapping the ball from inside the 5-yard line. Who's got the goal line? Wings. So when the ball is snapped inside the 5, what do the wings do? Go straight to the goal line and you come back, right? Okay. And is this formation legal? Why not? Why not? No. Wait a minute. So you got 3 here on the line, but you also got 1, 2, 3, 4 more on the line of scrimmage, right? So you got, and how many backs do we have? We got 1, 2, 3. I can't tell on that guy, but you definitely got 3. All right. So this is legal. You know, there's no more than 4 backs, right? So that's legal. It doesn't matter where they're at. They're all spread out. It looks weird, but that's legal. And you know something weird is going to happen here, right? All right. So the ball snapped. So what should these wing guys be doing? Straight to the goal line. And don't run into the pylon. Start off the line, start off the sideline, get back, give yourself space, and that way and get to the goal line off the pylon. All right. We see a shadow of an official. Do you think that this official is at the goal line? Yeah. Yeah. Where should he be?
On the goal line.
Well, because what is the number one thing on this play? What is the most important determination on this play? Is it if it calls the plane or not? Because that determines everything when it comes to enforcement on this thing. So he saw a holding foul, and then you've got a guy falling into the end zone. Whose call is it to make that as a touchdown? Only that guy, right? That guy. And are we going to be calling and giving a touchdown signal from the 5-yard line? No. He needs to be on that goal line giving the signal. Okay. Is this how we go notify the referee and the crew that we have a foul? Is this how we do it? He should be stopping the clock, blowing his whistle, right? Yeah. Blow your whistle, stop the clock. Even if the clock's not running. By doing this, we're signaling what? A timeout. An official's timeout. That I have something. I have something. Okay. And then we don't meander to the referee. And then he reports it. But they're enforcing this. Okay, they're going to enforce this from the spot. It was at the 2-yard line. But again, what if he had been short of the goal line? What if he had fumbled? I mean, all those things could have happened, and there's nobody there covering. He's not finishing the play there, and you've got to finish the play. He did.
Don't do that. Don't give the signal for what you got. Just do it.
I mean, it's a good call. I mean, that is a hold, right? I mean, he grabbed and he restricted, he impeded him. But yeah, don't get the signal, because what you give may not be the right signal. Right, right. But don't do that, because if he fumbles short of the goal line and White recovers it, yeah, yeah. So or if that ball comes loose right at the goal line, he's the only one that's going to know. Yeah, yeah. So if it came loose beyond the goal line, well, now that we're going to accept the foul and we're going to go back. If it became loose before the goal line and the defense recovered, they're probably going to decline the foul. So you can't stop. You can't stop, because the kids won't stop. And all that is important in knowing how to. We can't do penalty enforcement if we don't know the result of the play. Because the number one rule for penalty enforcement is knowing the result of the play. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to. Well, I mean, you just have to see what you can. All right. I mean, that's and as part of that's camera angles and stuff like that. You'll see more than we actually think you will out there. But yeah, but that's your call. Now, maybe the opposite wing guy can help you. Maybe the back judge might have something. But you need to be there as part of that conversation. It can't be, oh well, I had the holding foul too, and yeah, I don't have anything. Yeah, because everybody's gonna be looking at you, and if you're walking to me, yeah, 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 they're looking for you. All right, so that's all. Any questions about Rule 9? Like I said, very cursory, but yes, very, very. Rule 9 is hard. It's hard, and it just takes reps and practice to be able to get all of that. All right, guys, that's all I got. Jimmery's going to do Rule 10 with y'all next week.